Then quick, because quick at times can also have a connotation on
Hey, you know what? Because
But we don't like the instruction.
You're right. The way you put them across. Yeah. Like she said, aggressive.
I think we put it
Up
upstairs.
here? Okay, so we're right here.
You've met as a group now. I would like to know from you, what is it that this group is offering here now as a one group? So what have you discussed amongst yourself, and what are those individual strengths that you bring which formulate now a group strength? I mean, collectively there is a group which has certain competencies. So what are those? If you could also share the process part of it as to how you did it. What is the process you used? How did you arrive at this particular common set of competencies or strengths that you are looking at?
Yeah, and if you can name those competencies.
Yes, and name those.
So can I go first?
Yes.
Okay, so some of the, so the way we did it was we individually wrote down our own strengths and competencies, and then we wrote, the common ones onto the paper at the flip chart as you had asked us to do. And we're still not clear about the needs bit, but we did put a couple and we discussed it. So do you want me to tell you some of the common ones that we came up with?
Yeah. Could you first highlight what went into each of the groups first, as to when you were writing, what are some of the things you experienced? Was it a difficult process? What was happening in the group at that point in time? And each group, if could share.
Where we discussed that, while we are looking at what we have to offer and what we need to keep it in the context of that there are individual needs, team needs and organizational needs. And so we decided that we will all individually first look at what are our competencies, what we can offer, and what we as individuals need. And then we will share it, come up with what is common and maybe also some unique one. And if there are needs that we have individually which don't get met by what others in the group have to offer, then that is what we will take and share with the other group and see how we can offer what we collectively bring and also what we would need. So that's how we did it, and first we went with what we had to offer. And I think we had a very robust discussion, very open, and I think it was a very uplifting discussion. We all felt very positive.
Preeti is not really trying to understand what is the way you did it.
Yes, not
the way, the mechanics of who said what to whom. That is not the point. The point is, what did you observe? Because you're two teams. What have you observed as the process? You're talking about content. This is what we did. This is the mechanics of doing it. What did you see in the process of working together? Did you have that clarity?
And actually,
when
I asked that question, I realized that perhaps it's not about the clarity of the question. It's about the process.
exactly. Yeah. And another important thing I would like to mention here is, if somebody talks about words like security in the group, it is worth, seeing what it is bringing out. Why is this word coming out in a group? What is it leading to? Are they so insecure? Maybe there is a lot of insecurity.
Yes.
So why is this person all of a sudden saying, using and feeling secure?
Can anybody tell me what has happened in this entire group, in this dynamic, in this constellation? What has happened? What has really happened? What is it that has happened here? Because I want you to understand that there is a process that has happened here. Okay? And you will see those processes. Welcome to the world of group executive coaching, because you will see that process. Anytime you're in groups, you're unquestionably going to be able to see that process. And probably more virulent processes than this, which are very hard to contain. This is a very, very elementary process.
So shall we be going with shields and helmets?
No, I'm not saying you become so alarmed. It is not an alarmist thing. I'm just saying that when you're getting in there, not every team of yours or teams of yours are going to be holding hands, kissing each other and singing Kumbaya. So we are just almost preparing you for what can be different scenarios.
And I would like to add here,
Please.
not only, and if you see that there are teams which are actually in this same state as you are feeling, then you need to see what is happening inside this team, because if everything is so good, then you will also realize that while they are working together over a period of time, a lot of things will come up. They may not want to project it right in the beginning.
Okay, we were trying to bring out processes that actually happen more often than not in groups. And it can be any kind of group you're in, invariably those processes will come up. I mean, we have to get into the other segment, and we had more time, we could have gone into more and seen, the other power issues coming out, the leadership issue, the anger. We were just on the threshold of anger, by the way. I don't know, did anybody notice that people are getting angry here? Yeah. If I pushed it harder.
I just have one question.
Sure.
So Samir did mention, when the whole objective is to get the group aligned and bonded to move on to the objectives.
Right.
And when you already have that.
Yeah.
Right. So what is to say that the group hasn't already had issues in the past and figured them out with a different intervention without actually having a group coach into the picture in the first place? And that's why they've reached that space of bonding to a certain level already. And now, because you get a coach in when things are good, you are now looking at going to the next step. I don't know if I've...
I'm with you. What you're saying is it's possible that they are in that frame of mind because they've already, some issues were there.
So those dynamics which you talk about have already happened in a separate thing, for example, and now we're looking at a different thing of moving higher.
So it'll also depend on the objective of,
exactly,
right?
Exactly.
Now if you say it was, I'm not trying to justify what you're saying, but I'm just trying to understand.
I'm just hypothesizing.
Yeah, I'm just trying to understand your point. Say if it was a team building kind of intervention, okay? Now team building essentially would cover the entire team, but in this scenario,
just use an example.
I'm saying different interventions would have different kind of inputs. What you are saying, even after doing any intervention, there is a possibility that still there may be a lot of differences within the team, within each individual that might come up.
Okay.
In spite of being great team, while we are working together, we are still individuals. We are not one person here. One entity working, right? So we will have our own point of views. We will have our own differences which will show up sometime or the other.
Okay.
We'll have our own needs. Now, in this group, Ashley, you mentioned that we were on our defenses. So I felt, my observation is basically that two things can come up in the group. Either the group is really insecure, coming from the point that they feel threatened that there is an external person coming in.
There's an external threat, perceived external threat.
So they come together and they start pouncing on the external person, and they really see that this person will break us in some way. They will, this person or these persons will see what we actually are, right? So this could happen and we start behaving in that manner. And on the other hand, they may start relating to the authority in a manner that they will, start looking towards that person and blindly start believing that person.
That's the role section I talked about yesterday.
Not role suction, but they actually start following that person.
Following that person blindly. Yeah.
So both the scenarios are possible. One we saw here that possible threat was observed, and the way the group reacted happened. But the other scenario is also possible.
Preeti, what if you weren't sitting like you are now? Does that have anything to do with it? I'm just thinking. Like you guys
Even if we sit in a group, see, first few sessions, there is always a threat. You will not be considered part of a group. It depends on whether one session or two session, depends on what is the group dynamics, right? Slowly the person is treated and made part of the group. So, accepted, because you are still part of the organization, and if the person is coming from outside, that is an external entrant, and to form a group again, it takes time. Am I right?
Yeah, absolutely correct.
Yeah. So that process will take some time.
Right. And these are, please allow me to say that these are very humbling things happening in the group, okay? Nobody likes to be in this state of anxiety, or frustration or resentment and all that, what is really happening when there's nothing there, something is being created, it leads to frustration, leads to some sort of I'd say some sort of a turbulence within oneself, okay? But without that turbulence, without that uncertainty, which is what we talked about in the negative capabilities, without that space, you're going to only be focusing in on certain things that you're able to see, that you've been trained to see, and you'll miss out on some of the under the surface things that are happening within the group. And they can very easily detract the group from its primary task.
That after the whole thing, and the fact that we were so excited about the fact that we came up with some really nice components, and no one even bothered to ask us what we actually worked on. And the whole thing is like, okay, what was the process? What was it?
Yes, because
so
that
again,
exercise.
Exactly. So, then you feel that, okay, the whole thing that we were so happy about, and that whole sense of achievement is actually, again, what you were saying, not being acknowledged, not being talked about, the fact that you actually come up with a really nice set of points about it. That was not the point. So maybe that's when the antagonism is also coming out of.
Yeah. But then we've just put him in the authority figure position.
Yeah,
we're like, we want approval.
Because the assignment,
it's like going back to the negative capability segment. The whole group is quiet.
Because the whole task was
because
given us,
Ashley said, I'm feeling this annoyance. But Ashley decided not to say anything about the annoyance. Because you've shifted the power onto me. Because you're modeling my behavior. So in a sense, right? You're also colluding with me.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So,
okay.
So are we all okay with giving feedback to each other?
Sure.
So here's what we're going to do. One person will hold this and will give just 2 sentences each, very quickly.
To each of them?
No, just to the next, for the next person.